Good morning, Inspiring Illuminators. It is me, Jennifer Engel, your subconscious coach. Thank you for joining me today on my Jaunt with Jen. I haven't done one of these for quite a while, but I try not to do them, excuse me, unless I actually have something to say that might impart some wisdom. So, what I like to tell people is that the Western society tells stories and things like that in a linear fashion, in a chronological order. This is what I'm going to say, this is what I'm saying, this is what I said. But more Eastern and or spiritual people generally tell their stories in parables and circles. I'm going to give you a little bit of background information. I'm going to entitle this walk the 51% Tilt with a subtitle, Actions Speak Louder Than Words. Okay. So in order to understand what I'm talking about, I'm going to give you a little bit of background information on how I view reality and things like that. I'm going to tell you a little story about something that I've been through lately, and then how I came up with the new wisdom that I learned from that experience. Again, I wasn't going to even plan on doing a Jaunt with Jen. I planned on getting out and doing my walk. And I was thinking about sharing some things with people, and that's what led to this talk. Okay, so background information on how I see reality. So again, I am not trying to convince anyone of changing their beliefs. I simply share my stories for 2 or 3 reasons. Reason number 1 is people who share their stories and experiences that are different but similar to my own beliefs, like different from mainstream society beliefs, made me feel less alone. Felt like I was getting phone calls from home, if you will. So I do that in case there's anybody out there who also kind of sees and feels things a little bit differently. The other reason why I share it, is because maybe you've never thought about seeing the world this way, and it might just open up your mind to curiosity and wonder. Maybe you want to try it on, see if it fits a little bit. And if it does, great. And if not, that's cool. You just say it's not for me. Okay, so those are the 2 main reasons why I blog and share stories. The third, sorry, I don't know what's going on with my voice here. The third is maybe just to share stories. You don't even have to believe in all the mumbo jumbo stuff. I think in a lot of my stories, whether you see things the way I do or not, they're often stories of struggle and how to overcome that struggle. So that could be another lesson. All right. So that's my disclaimer. I am moving on to how I see reality. If you follow me, which is only like 3 to 11 people on average, which is fine, you know that this is how I see reality. And if you've never listened to me before, well, welcome. I believe that we have the power to create our own reality. But it can be very confusing and difficult to understand. And The universe, I think, has been preparing me for this since birth, but really, really working with me on this since 2011. And it's a lot like going to school. It'll introduce you to some concepts, you're in kindergarten, first, second, third, and so on. So I've been in spirit school for a long time. And here's the latest lesson I learned. So what I believe is we have the power to, for the most part, create our own reality. Now I also believe, and I've been saying this since like 2014, that we live in the juxtaposition. So I believe that like on one hand, we have the ability to create our own reality within like about a 6 feet bubble. We have total control of our reality on the inside and about a 6 feet control on the outside. We do live in the physical world where other people can also create their own reality, and they also have their own 6 feet bubble. Now this isn't an exact measurement. This is something that scientists are starting to measure, that's about how far our electromagnetic heart waves are from our body. And when we come together, 2 and 2, those electromagnetic waves, if we are in each other's 6 feet bubble, isn't that interesting? Stay 6 feet apart for COVID too. Never really thought about that. But anyway, our vibrations create a mashup. And that mashup either sounds good, becomes neutral, or is bad. It might even repulse each other away. And then, of course, you can imagine the more bubbles that come together, the more it's going to sound like a symphony or a band or something like that, rather than just a single instrument making a noise. Also, the sound can be quiet or loud. So, okay. We have 100% control and power of our internal forces, and then we have about 6 feet around us that we can kind of control. But, like I said, we live in the juxtaposition, and I've always felt that, as I'm sure pretty much all society does, there are also other forces. Now, what was interesting is I've been writing a book of poetry. I'm hoping I'll publish it on my birthday, April Fool's Day, and that's not a joke. I wrote a poem about an iceberg and about how we have control even under the iceberg in our subconscious. But a writer friend of mine said, actually, the currents underneath the iceberg is what pushes it around. And I have felt that there are collective energy systems, which I think are our collective thoughts and emotions. Some people see the weather as just weather. I see it as our collective thoughts and emotions. Also, it doesn't need to be human collective thoughts and emotions. I also kind of see it like we're also on a clock or a wheel. And if you look at anything, Native Americans had a saying, or have a saying, everything sacred tries to be a circle. And so we have patterns on the second, minute, hour, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, decade, 40 years, 100 years, thousands years, all those, okay? You get the idea. It's like drops in a pond, okay? And we are cycling and orbiting around all of these. And when we hit certain, let's say, numbers on the clock, noon, 1, 2, 3, 4, blah, 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 it's almost like a universal energy or experience comes in. So sometimes I can kind of pick up on what I call trickster days, where that energy is very distorted, and the purpose of that distortion energy is to get us to see our own distortions. And it's kind of funny, when I was in high school, and this actually got brought up with another student recently, what's the point? What's the meaning of life? And I got an A on the paper. It's the only A I ever got. I got mostly B's and F's. Because I had a lot of learning disabilities, because I was more worried about just physically living. But, I told the teacher, I'm like, well, come back in 30 or 40 years, maybe I'll be able to tell you. And I didn't tell this to my student because it's a little deep and complex, and it's not really my place as a teacher to say these kinds of things. But my understanding of the reason for life, is that our soul has some distortions in it. And those distortions could be positive, negative, or neutral. And I believe the purpose of physical life is to help clarify, move through those distortions so that we can experience better, if you will. So there you go. That's my meaning of life right there. And these energy systems that come in, very similar to our seasons. We have our springs, where the energy system is beautiful and wonderful and fresh and new. We have our energy systems of summer, live, go, 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 heavenly-like, magical, perfect. We have our energy systems of maybe what we thought was so magical and perfect isn't as magical and perfect as we think, as the leaves begin to red and yellow and turn brown and fall down around us. And then we have our energy systems of death, where everything's cold and drab and lifeless. And that's supposed to teach us, what do we need to die to? And I've talked about dying to fear, guilt, insecurity, jealousy, lies, and misperception. And we don't just have to experience those seasonally. We could experience that in a second, a minute, an hour, a day, a month, so on and so forth, okay? So, on one hand, we live in the juxtaposition where we have 100% control inside of ourselves and within a 6 feet distance physically. But on the other hand, we're also on this merry-go-round, clock in time. And as we hit certain points, an energy system comes in and helps or challenges us. Okay, that's the way I see reality and experience it. Sometimes there are certain systems like 22222 that come in. And that's kind of like when you hit one of those numbers. Alright. So that's how I see reality. Now I'm going to get into something that I experienced recently. For those of you who do not know me, I was born with a mild case of spina bifida that did not affect me nor my family mildly. On the other hand, I am able to walk and run and things like that. But I do have an ostomy, and I also have to do medical things in the morning. In addition to that, when I was 10, I had a temporary colostomy, which was awful. And then in 2014, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So I went through 21 rounds of chemo, 30 days of radiation, a double mastectomy, lost all my hair, was cured, they say. And then around 2018, found 2 spots on my spine, went through 3 doses of radiation. And then just this past summer, it was found that the cancer spread to my bones. So, on one hand, I'm really appreciative that in our day and age, we can get access to our own records before we meet with our doctors. And on the other hand, might not be so good. Because even though I knew this from breast cancer in 2014, you should not Google stuff. But we all do. Back then I thought I had 1 year to live. When I got the bone scan results recently, I thought I had 6 months to 2 years. And I was feeling not so good physically. And if I'm going to be raw, real, and honest, I probably drank a little too much every day for about a week or 2. Now for me, drinking too much, because I normally don't drink at all, is like a full, 16 ounce of beer and a little bit of wine. And I would get kind of buzzed almost every day just to kind of numb the thought of having to tell my children I might not be around. And I got really, really sad because I just started to understand, excuse my language, but how fucking miraculous living is. I mean, it really is. When you think about just one cell, when you think about how one organ, like the eye or something, works, and then you put all that together with everything, how our bladder can hold water and not leak shit everywhere. I mean, it's amazing. And I've been working really, really hard on unconditional love. And I think I'm finally getting there. I'm not saying I don't have my days here or there. The people who live with me, they can see my days and tell you that a little bit better. But it's just when I think I'm figuring this out, I'm only going to have 6 more months to 2 years. So I kind of went into a depression. I don't know. I was actually pendulum swinging. Most of the time I was pretty positive, but I had waves of depression. So what I was doing during that time was, the way I also see reality is like a scale. So the way that I understand it is we have a vision, a thought, a desire, a picture, I don't know what you want to call that, in our subconscious. And then that flows into our heart and creates a strong emotion. That emotion tells the mind, it's the opposite. We have a thought in our mind that might come from our subconscious. that thought is judged. And the judgment is sent to our heart, and our heart radiates out an electromagnetic field that tells the field around us what we expect it to look like, be like, behave like, based on our judgment, okay? I believe that reality reflects back to us our thoughts and feelings. Now, when you first think this way, all of a sudden, a couple of things happen. Number one, you go, holy shit. That means I have to take responsibility for almost everything that's happened to me. Now, I will say, there is a period of time, especially when we're children and we're living with parents and everything, there's a lot of bubbles bouncing in and out, okay? And so, on one hand, okay, what I'm saying is true, but on the other hand, other people's bubbles can definitely influence our own, okay? The juxtaposition. So I was thinking, shit. So then I learned to take responsibility for every thought and action. Every time, and I still do this, I'm not going to lie, I start blaming someone else for how I feel. It's like my consciousness kicks in at the back of my mind saying, how could you contribute to this? What could you do to help fix this? Then I'm like, it's that like annoying parent, right? Okay, so that's number one. But then the second thing, because we can't help it, we're human. We have sad thoughts, we have angry thoughts, we have jealous thoughts. And then I'm like, oh, I don't want to have these because I don't want that created in my reality. I don't want to think that I'm going to die in 6 months to 2 years. So the way that I also see reality is I have one foot in the physical world that could have reality, the cancers in my bones. I can't ignore that, okay? But I have always had one foot, I don't know where you want to call it, in the subconscious, in the spirit world, in the world of faith and hope. And so, for a few days, I had my foot in my face planted and turned firmly toward fear. And that wasn't making me feel very good. And then I decided, well, back in 2014, it hurt so much to walk. And I walked into Walmart or Walgreens. I was going to buy a cane. And I remember thinking to myself, if I buy this cane, I'm telling myself I'm going to need it for the rest of my life. And I said, fuck that. I walked out. And you know what? Yeah, it was painful. But over time, I became stronger. And I might have twinges of not necessarily pain, like reminders that it's there, but nothing on the level that I had when I first started. So I thought to myself, okay, this is like the cane at Walgreens. Yes, there could be a reality, cancer's in me, and I could die. But now I planted the other foot. I had one foot in reality and fear, but I turned my body so that half was in reality and fear, but at least now the other half was in hope and miracles and light. And let me tell you, I pray every day for a very long time. And I'm like, okay, there could be hope. And so I was pendulum swinging. That's what they call it. I was teeter-tottering between fear and reality, and hope and faith and spirit. Then, one day it hit me. A couple things did. One, you can't just have the thought that this is what I'm gonna do. It's almost like you have to put a penny in the piggy bank. You have to give a little sacrifice in order to prove to the field, this is what I really mean. You have to do an action. And so I had a couple cans of beer left, and I dumped them down the bathtub. I said, I want to be healthy. And if I want to be healthy, I can't be drinking this shit. And I dumped it. And the other thing that hit me was every morning I pray, with access to such power and knowledge, whom or what shall I fear? Nothing, nor no one. And I really try to live my life that way. And I went, it's like you can say the words every day, like I do. And some days, you ain't gonna feel it, but you say it anyway. But because I keep saying it every day, one day it like went out into the world, and then it was like once I dumped my beer or whatever, it was like, bam! It hit me like a boomerang. It's like, yeah, whom or what shall I fear? Now, even after that, Friday was the day I was going to talk to my doctor. I found in the morning I became quiet again. Then I was fine, going about my day, distracted with my job. And then I was in my team planning, and they were talking about pets dying and all these other things, and I could feel the sadness start to well up again. So I left for just a couple minutes, and I came back. Then I was fine again for a little bit, and then I wasn't distracted anymore, and the time was getting closer to go to the doctor, and I got quiet again. And we had planned a family dinner that night in case the news was not good, and we needed to prepare people. So I was really quiet. And I went into the doctor, and the news was good. He said, yeah, it's in your bones. Yes, it is stage 4. It's not curable at this point. And he said something funny. He said, you don't need your bones to live. He's like, okay, you need them to stand up and walk, yes. But then he said, you need your organs to live. You need your liver. You need your heart. You need your kidneys. And the good news, there's no cancer in any of my organs. So he said, I have a lot of hope. Plus, some of the stuff that was going on in your lungs, it's actually getting better. And I was so relieved. And this morning, I was thinking about the 51% and the action. If you believe in that you can create your own reality, it starts with a thought, an image in your mind. Your mind judges it. You're scared, you're not scared, you're loving, you're angry, whatever it is. And it sends it down to your heart. And that heart puts it out into the world. And that world reflects it back to you. And I was scared that, what if I had too many thoughts? That I'm not going to make it? What if I'm creating that reality? But I think the day When I dumped the beer, I showed the universe the action of what I really, really wanted. That tipped the scales. And so, if you believe in reality creation, or if you don't, that's fine. Just know it's okay to have bad, scary thoughts. All you need to do is have like 51 to 52 to 53% that are not scary, that are not angry, that are not insecure, that are not lies. And the universe will reflect that back to you. So, that's my jaunt with Jen this morning. We can create our own reality. That was another thing I thought about, and that might be my quote tomorrow. It's a great responsibility to keep creating and manifesting miracles. You know, I might not know what it's like to be a president or, I don't know, whatever else. But I also know, because I was told during that time, how many people rely on me to keep showing them the way of how to keep going. Even when you're scared, even when you're sick, even when you think this is it. And I told the universe, I gotta keep doing that because the universe is a little fucked up right now. Just when we're getting over COVID, now we have the Ukraine, but there was stuff going on before that too. And the other thing I found is by doing that, I ignite that light in other people. And then they influence their people. And people they might not even know. And I think we just really need that right now. We really need... It's okay to put both feet, one in reality and one in faith, hope, and spirit. And I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to go back and forth. I'm human. There will be some days my face will be fully turned toward the light and faith and hope. And there will be some days my feet are planted in reality and in spirit. And there are some days when we hit that 11th hour just before the reset, that energy is going to come through and remind me what distortions I still have inside of myself. And I'm going to be facing fear again, insecurity again. But the other thing that I've learned, go through them. They're nothing more than ghosts. You think they're going to hurt you. You think they're going to kill you. They're just ghosts. They're just holograms. Just keep going. It hurts. It sucks. It tells you lies. It tells you you're alone. It tells you things like nobody's going to miss you. But it's a liar. It's showing you your own distortion. And so if you can just hold on to even a little bit of light, you'll make it through. And you're not alone, ever, even if you feel like it. And if you feel you're alone, and your heart cries out, you literally don't even have to say anything on social media. If your heart really wants help, it'll magically show up. whenever you've sent hope to somebody else, they're going to send it back to you when you need it. Okay? So, yeah, life sucks sometimes. It's scary. But you just have to do 3 things. Number 1, keep going. And when you feel like sitting down, and you might for a while, I was telling people, yeah, it's fine to have faith and stuff, but you just need to focus on reality sometimes. And they were my voice of hope and light when I was getting ready to sit down. And there was no one physically around me, but basically their voice picked me back up, pushed me forward, and let me keep finding my own strength and keep walking. So if you feel you're alone, you're not. You'll get the help you need. Just cry out with your heart. That's all you have to do. Number 2, just keep going forward. Keep even just that little spark, that little ember alive. Also know you're human. It's okay to fluctuate and teeter-totter. And just keep in your mind, say it like a mantra. That's another thing, collect mantras. Because you can just kind of keep saying those in your mind, digging a deep, deep path in your brain. And when you're going through the dark, they're going to be like lifelines. One of my mantras now is, I just need 51%. I just need 51%. Actions speak louder than words. I'm going to prove that I'm moving to the 51%. And then I might even tip those damn scales over. I hope this talk has helped someone today so that you can use your own 51% or more. Your own light, your own positivity, to first help yourself and then help others around you. Because now, way more than ever, the world needs it, and it needs you. Peace and blessings.